Welcome back to the channel. This is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks, tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be talking about a tile laying / exploration game. We're going to be talking about Sub Terra. And in this game, you'll take on the role of a bunch of cavers. You'll be trying to explore a subterranean cave network, trying to find the exit before you get done over by some of the hazards and some of the horrors. So in this video, we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules. We're telling you what we do like, what we don't like. We'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Sub Terra is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below. Hit the like button, all that YouTube bullshit. See you after this. Bollocks! So, Sub Terra, how do you play this game? So Sub Terra is a tile laying / exploration game. Each player is going to take the role of one of the cavers. You'll take the player board and you'll populate it with a number of health tokens that it tells you. There'll also be a number of special abilities that are unique to each character, right? You'll find the start tile and you'll stick it in the center of the table. You'll find the exit tile and you'll make a load of stacks of the other standard core tiles, and then you'll take 6 tiles from the bottom of the last stack and you'll mix up the exit. So you know that the exit's going to be sort of towards the end of each stack, right? Also take the hazard cards, depending on how hard or easy you want it going to be. You'll take some cards out or you'll leave some cards in, and then you put all the caver meeples on the start tile, and then you'll be able to start the game, right? So each round is going to have a set number of phases. You're going to have the action phase where you will be performing actions. You have the horror phase where any horrors that are on the board will move. Then you have the hazard phase where you'll draw a hazard card, apply its effects. Then you'll have the end phase, which is basically a load of cleanup, yeah? So in the action phase, you're going to get 2 action points to spend on whatever you like. You'll also be able to exert yourself, and this means rolling the die. And if you roll a 1, 2 or 3, then you'll have to take a certain number of damage. Irrespective of the result of the die, you will still be able to perform the action. So that's always a good thing, isn't it? So the first action you can do is the reveal action. You'll point to a space next to a tile that you're currently occupying, and then you'll draw a tile and you'll place it in that spot. You can orient the tile any way you want and you'll dump it down there, but you can't move on there. You'll have to spend another action to move, right? One way round this is to take the explore action. It's a little bit more risky, but it allows you to draw a tile, place it down, and then move onto it straight away. This is also going to cost you 1 action point, so it's a little bit cheaper, but a little bit more risky, you know? You can take the run action, it's going to cost you 2 points. You'll be able to move 3 spaces. You'll be able to spend 2 action points to heal yourself, and this means that you'll be able to regenerate 1 health. Not 1 elf, 1 health. It's not Christmas yet, you impatient shits. So there's certain actions that are related to the hazard cards. You can swim, right? It's going to cost you 2 action points, and this allows you to move through water tiles. You can squeeze. This means you can move through a squeeze tile, right? And you've got dig, place, rope, and hide, and these are pretty much self-explanatory, you know what I mean? So once everybody has taken their actions, then you'll move on to the horror phase. This is where the nasty little horrors will move 1 space towards the nearest conscious caver, right? If there's no horrors on the board, then you don't have to do anything. If at any time you share a space with a horror, you'll lose all of your health and you'll die, right? So the next phase is the hazard phase. This is where you'll draw a card from the hazard deck and apply its effects. You might end up with the tremor. Each caver must make a skill check, and all cavers that fail, i.e. if you roll a 1, 2 or 3, then you'll lose a health. If you draw a flood card, you'll have to place a flood marker on any water tile that don't have one. You've got the gas hazard. Any cavers that are on a gas tile will lose 2 health, yeah? And then you've got the cave in. You'll roll a die and then you'll place a rubble marker on any cave tiles that have the same number on them, right? And the last card is the horror card, and this is where all horrors that are on the board will move 1 step closer to their victims. So if your caver ever becomes unconscious, if they lose all their health, then they will have to be healed by another player, or they will stay unconscious, yeah? If all the cavers are unconscious, then you will lose the game. Likewise, if you draw the out of time card, you will lose the game. But if you find the exit, then any cavers that get out will win the game, right? And that's how you play Sub Terra. So what do we like about Sub Terra? So the first thing that we really like about this game is that the character abilities are actually quite useful, and they're quite thematic as well. Like for instance, the diver has the amphibious action. It says you don't lose any health from floods, and you may use move actions to enter tiles containing flood markers. So that is quite useful. You've got the hard as nails bodyguard, and this geezer has the repel action. It says remove a horror on an adjacent tile from the cave. So he's got the ability to actually get rid of the horror meeples, right? And the engineer has the vigilant action. It says cave-in events only cause you to lose 1 health, right? So most of these characters have got 2 abilities abilities, and if you choose the right ones, then you really shouldn't have too much hassle trying to get out of this game alive, right? You know what I mean? So the second thing that we really like about this is the idea that you can push yourself beyond your normal capabilities by rolling a die. The fact that there is a risk associated with this means that you may lose a bit of health, but you're always going to be able to succeed in what you're trying to do. So the risk doesn't come from being able to complete or not complete the action. The risk comes from trading away some of the health points, right? There's always an element of usefulness about this exert ability, yeah? So the third and final thing that we like about it, in a sort of weird roundabout way, is that there's loads of expansions for this game. I think there's about 4, maybe 5 expansions for this. I don't know, can't actually remember. But if you do get sick and tired of this core box, or if there's not enough in there for you, then you've got the option of adding a couple of relatively cheap expansions that will give you more variety in terms of characters or extra actions or extra cave tiles, basically generic stuff, right? If it was the case that this core set was just all there was available, then it would be a little bit thin on the ground. But you do have the option of spending even more money and buying some extra stuff, right? So what don't we like about Sub Terra? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is that with the exit being stuck in the bottom of the final stack of tiles, you're more often than not going to be using the explore action to try and burn through these stacks of tiles as quickly as possible, because otherwise, to be honest, the game does get a little bit boring, right? Maybe it would have been better to have this like a sort of a timed thing, like Escape Curse of the Temple, where the hazards will be triggered through a soundtrack or something like that. But yeah, it does feel like you're sort of plodding through the cave too much, and nobody in this game is going to be conservative, are they? They're going to be taking the explore action and just hoping that they don't walk into one of their friends' farts on a gas tile. So the second thing that we don't like about this game is that the tension basically just comes from flipping over a card from the hazard deck. Yeah, there's not really anything else in this game. It's usually just a case of like, oh, what are we going to get now? Flip it over. Oh, it's a gas card. Oh, it's a tremor card. Oh, it's a horror card. Yeah, so that mechanism just feels a little bit cheap, and most of the time in the end you're just going to be bending over and taking it, ain't you? So yeah, relying on a deck of cards to sort of do you over, it's just a little bit feeble. So the third thing and the final thing we don't like about Sub Terra is that the artwork in this game is really, really bland. I know they've tried to probably capture essence of being stuck in the dark and all that sort of thing, but on multiple occasions we've been caught out by not being able to see the exits on the tile very clearly, you know? Sometimes it's easy to miss. You can walk straight through a wall and not actually realise it. So yeah, the artwork could have been better, but it's not. It's just basically cheap, nasty tat, really. So to summarise, is Sub Terra worth your time and bother, or is it going to give you a sore throat like I've got now? So we're going to say maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I did enjoy this game quite a bit when I first played it a few times, but it wore thin really, really quickly. And as a result, it's sort of like a mediocre tile laying game. It doesn't really have any scoring mechanisms or anything deeper than flipping a card and saying, oh shit. You're going to be using the explore action for the majority of your turns, and that does get very, very stale very quickly, right? And until something goes wrong, that's the only action that you're really going to be using. I think at the end of the day, this one suffers from there not being that much content in the core box. You know, okay, you've got 8 different characters, gives you a little bit of variety, but at the end of the day, the actual core game is just revealing a tile, seeing what it is, drawing a card, seeing what it is, and shitting yourself or not. So there you go, that is Sub Terra. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Hit the like button on that YouTube bullshit, will you? See you next time.